Well, greetings. Welcome back to Acadian Comics. I'm your host, James Fondren, and this is my review of Absolute Superman issue number 1 from DC's All-In campaign, but it's absolute characters. You've got Absolute Batman, Absolute Superman, Absolute Wonder Woman, and this massive effort this fall by DC to bring something different to the table. So people have seen this cover, and I like it. It's pretty cool, and we're going to get into this and what I thought about it. So my initial thoughts about the book are it's good. You start off on Krypton and you start getting into kind of the setting and who's who and all that. It's like, okay, well, how are they going to retell the Superman origin story? So just like Absolute Batman, they changed the origin story of Superman slightly. They take it from this, they make it sort of this class warfare situation on Krypton. And we're going to get into like spoilers here, okay? So I'll just say that in this first issue, you don't really get answers. You get set up for answers, okay? But let's get into the spoilers, okay? So the chest emblems, it very much is like lifted from like Man of Steel, the movie, and that whole scene where Henry Cavill and Russell Crowe are in the ship, Kal-El and Jor-El, and Superman is like, he's trying to learn about who he is and where he's from and everything, and Russell Crowe gives him, did I say Kurt Russell or Russell Crowe? Russell Crowe, he's Superman's father, he's Jor-El, and he opens up his chest and he says, this is a symbolism, this is a symbol for hope and all that. And then we know how the whole Man of Steel movie went. Mixed reception. People think that Zack Snyder got it wrong and it wasn't really Superman. It was something else. It was something else. And then there's a lot of speculation about, well, because DC was in a lawsuit with the Schuster family and the family of the creators of Superman, that they were making their own original thing. And there's a lot of there's an idea here that, when Superman goes into public domain and then, potential rights issues, that they're making something that they, being DC, are making something that they can license and will be their own super Miles Morales man, or their absolute Miles Morales Superman, or their absolute Miles Morales Batman, or their absolute Miles Morales Wonder Woman. It's something that DC can say, this is ours. We made it 25% different, whatever, and we've changed things up. So I'm regurgitating what other people have said, people who are in the industry and actually know what they're talking about. I don't, but that seems to follow for me. And if that's what's being done, then hey, look, make it work. If it works, you can make it work. And if it's a good story, then good. If it's enjoyable, good. So with that being said, what did I think of this comic? Just like Absolute Batman, it's an inversion. So you take Bruce Wayne, he's a billionaire, you flip him, you turn him into a city engineer for Gotham City, right? You do that. And then this whole sort of thing with classism, like, you see, the thing about it is Jor-El he is rejected from the Science Academy, or the Science Institute of Krypton, of the Kryptonian elite, right? Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it's Superman's mother advocated for interstellar exploration, but then the Science Academy, thought she was too reckless, so she ends up being a farmer working on farming equipment. So it's like they are working class people, right? But this is exactly what Jonathan and Martha Kent are. So you get rid of Jonathan and Martha Kent, you supplant them, and you supplant Superman's real parents, and you imprint Jonathan and Martha Kent on Krypton as Superman's parents. You combine Jonathan Kent, Martha Kent, Jor-El, and Superman's mother into the same characters, and you place them on Krypton. So we haven't seen like what the variant of Jonathan Kent and Martha Kent is in Smallville, in the absolute universe. We don't know what that looks like. But what we do know is that there's like, okay, we're kind of meddling with kind of classism and class warfare and this working class hero stuff. Like this is, Superman's parents are working class heroes, and by definition, Superman has a living memory of that because you see what happens. And I'm just going to skip. These are all spoilers, by the way. If you're watching by now, spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. And I'm not going to show the whole book, but Jor-El basically, does basically an OSHA flag on this on some mining. Oh, there's a risk here. There's a fissure. You shouldn't be mining here. We're gonna shut down the mine. I'm flagging this for OSHA reasons. It's not safe. Blah blah blah. OSHA doesn't exist on Krypton, but you get my drift, right? Anyway, yeah. So what has happened? So Superman, Kal-El, has a living memory of his parents because, and this is one of the biggest fundamental changes that they've done in Superman, in Absolute Superman, is that Superman, I'm going to skip to the end, he is not, did I skip this? Yeah, here he is as a boy. So he has a living memory of his parents. And look, he has a dog on Krypton. Interesting, right? But he knew his parents. He knew what their values were. He knew them. So what we don't know after this issue is, well, how did he end up on Earth? Okay, and then you're getting some AW comic here. But anyway, how did he end up on Earth? Well, that's the thing. So they work in like a poor part of the planet. They are working class people, and it's all on Krypton, but then it flips a little bit to, a mining situation, and oh, there's asbestos in the mine, and there's a company that wants the miners in some South American country, in Brazil, right? You're going to go in there, and there's going to be a raise, and it's going to be money for your families, but then you see Superman is hidden in robes under wraps amongst the miners, you see, because his father was a miner. So now he's going to go help the miners. And yeah, like, is this what people really want out of Superman? I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like working class hero crap, but like, I'll bite. We don't even get to see him fly. We don't get to see him do anything. Okay, he crushes coal and turns it into diamonds. Okay. Well, yeah, we saw Christopher Reeve do that too, and yeah, that's great. And that was like a small little bit in I think Superman 2. No, Superman 3, not the worst Superman of all. Superman 3. He crushes a diamond. He crushes a piece of coal and turns it into a diamond after, he defeats that computer and all that, and drops Richard Pryor off of that coal mine and that yard and everything, and then he's like, here, why don't you get a job? Oh, I don't want a job. Where's the bus station? I don't want to do this kind of work. I'm not cut out for coal mining, but he takes a lump of coal and he crushes it in his hand. So they steal directly from Superman 3, and he does that, and he turns all this coal, and it's like, oh, where all these diamonds come from? Where happened to all the asbestos? So Superman is an ecological hero. Like, he's Captain Planet at this point. It's like, oh, I'm going to take all this stuff and I'm going to turn it into all this coal, and I'm going to crush it with my vision. I think he uses, excuse me, I think he uses his heat vision or something. And of course, here's the ecological disaster in Krypton that Jor-El warns his supervisor about because he's a working class guy, and he's a safety guy, and he's citing an OSHA violation on site. So yeah, it's interesting, but I don't know. I think Absolute Batman was a better book. At least it got the fundamentals right about Absolute Batman, or about Batman fundamentally, which is he is a detective, and even if you strip away his resources, he has his intelligence, he has his detective skills, he has his martial arts skills, he has his inventiveness, and I like what they did with Absolute Batman, and that kind of works for what they're doing. If you put the city engineer stuff to the side and all that, fine, but It sort of works, you know, but with Absolute Superman, we don't get that sort of foundation and undergirding and foundation for the character in this absolute universe, this absolute Superman. So it's like he's like interacting with some kind of like Jarvis sort of thing. Well, we don't have a, I'm gonna miss the name, but like he's having a conversation. You see, it's like, I've gotten tired of running. Interesting. Like the other Lazarus Corporation forces we've encountered, their weapons and armor incorporate technology not native to this galaxy. Okay, so like who is he talking to? We don't know. You know, who is Superman talking to? Right? And then this S, and I'm just going to say right here, okay? This is fine, like this, but they wanted to get this S in here so bad. I think this anatomy looks strange. What they're doing here is not right, and they shoehorned it in. Look, I want you to look at this, okay? I like it. I like the art, but it works here, but it doesn't work here. This is too crooked because they wanted it straight. It's too straight. It doesn't work. They got to get it. It works on this panel. It doesn't work here. And then like understanding what this like Wonder Woman stuff is on his wrist and all that. I'm sure that'll be explained, but they didn't get into the explanation of his powers, that he could fly and all that. But going back to this, like, look, the guy's a janitor. Look, the guy's a everyday Joe. He's a waiter. You know, we were people of steel. You know, okay, it's an inversion, right? That's what this absolute universe is. It's like class distinctions were of such importance that citizens were required to wear their status at all times. It's like social credit score, you know, slap whatever symbol on your chest and that's what you are. That's your caste. This is Hinduism. This is like backwards thinking, right? For an advanced civilization. And plus, they're using like money. Like they talk about, oh, I don't have enough money to bring the rain, to make it rain on the farm later. It's like, wait, you're an advanced society capable of faster than speed light, and y'all are still using money? You still have a monetary system that was never covered in the movies, that was never covered in the comics, I believe. Like, oh, Marlon Brando didn't have enough money to stop the explosion of the sun, or, you know, Russell Crowe didn't have enough money to launch the ship. It's like, this is inconsequential kind of nonsense, really, you know? And I'm digging into Superman. I'm digging into Absolute Superman because they just want to make it work, and that's okay. I mean, I can accept it for what it is because it's not Superman. It is Absolute Superman. So in its own silo, in its own bubble, I can accept what they're doing with Superman. Yeah, so the crest of the laborer was seen as a mark of shame, the sign of the poor and unskilled. People like my parents wore it with pride. So this is his exposition. This is Kal-El's exposition on the S. This was for the lower class. This is a lower class symbol. And they want you to think about that. And he represents the lower class. No, Superman represents truth, justice, and the American way. Okay? Truth, justice, and the American way. Not workers of the world unite. And see, this is the problem with that sort of ideology being interjected into our pop culture. Hold on. And it's not going to stop either. But is it bad? Is it all bad? No. So what would I say about Absolute Superman? Number one, I have mixed feelings about it. I didn't think it was overly clever. I didn't think it was clever in a way that Absolute Batman was clever. I still haven't read Absolute Wonder Woman. I'm kind of loath to do it. I even know I have a copy. I have a reading copy. Because I'm just not a big Wonder Woman fan, period, you know, but I got to think about this. I got to think about it. I got to read it again, kind of digest it. But I wanted to give you my first impressions and my review. I don't think it's going to change. Now, I'm curious. I will give issue number 2 a shot. I will give it a chance and say, all right, where are you going with this? Where are we going with this? Like, you cannot do working class hero stuff with Darkseid. You just can't do it. Like, you can't do it. Like, eventually that's going to come to a head. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be a problem. Like that these colossal, larger than life characters like Superman and the villains in the DC universe and the you know, the Rogues Gallery and Batman, they supersede like these social commentary motifs. Especially, these are the people who are writing it. So, look, I like the art. I think this is it's a great cover, and it's, you know, I commend them for doing it. I like this cover more than the Jim Lee cover. Look, I've got both. And it's weird because this is an add-on to this. I don't know why it just wasn't this. Why didn't they just make this the cover? But I like Jim Lee's cover, but I like this cover more. Better pose, but it's dark. This isn't as dark. This is more Jim Lee-esque and his Superman. But look how different the S is. Like, look at that. You could say foreshortening, but I just don't know. I just don't know. Like, that's my thoughts. That's my thoughts on, you know, Absolute Superman. You spend a lot of time on Krypton. You spend a lot of time on this working class hero stuff. You know, here's the thing, right? If you're an advanced society and you have robots to do your work for you, why do you need to have poverty? Why does poverty exist on Krypton? Why are people working class people? Why are they looked down as poor and ill-educated? Aren't you sophisticated and advanced enough to where if you have robots doing your work for you, that you don't need human beings doing this? One does not compute with the other. And that's the problem. Like, and I get the message. They're saying, well, my parents were smart. They could have been in the Science Academy. But the elite system pushed them out. It excluded them from participating because of the class structure, the caste structure. It doesn't compute. It doesn't compute with what an advanced society is. That's capable of faster than light travel and is like a class 2, a class 1, class 2 civilization on the Kardashev scale. Like, no, this doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't make sense. So that's all I've got. I guess I would give Absolute Superman. I'm gonna be generous on this. I'll give it 7 out of 10. Whatever these armbands on that haven't been explained to us, and whatever this is on his sides of his abdomen, like whatever that is, you know, what's this, what's that. I'll give Absolute Superman 7 out of 10 of these, whatever that is. So that's it. That's my review of Absolute Superman. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you right here next time at Acadian Comics.